Hello all of you, Dipti Chheda here. Going live is not new, but then trying some technology with StreamYard and all. I hope you all can hear me. Can some of you post a comment if you're able to hear me and see me live? Is my voice and all clear? Right. So we are here to discuss the booster revision lectures we are starting.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me on the screen? I know, but then this is the live for the first time. Once we do it, okay, right. So let us start now. What I have decided is it's a challenge to take these live classes. Recording and putting is great effort, but then that is something in our hand. When we go live, we can interact with all of you. So hello, all of you, Sai Charan and all others who are here. Hello, all of you. And we are starting now the booster revision lectures. Okay, right. So now in this, what is we have decided is that every time when we go live, we will be taking one chapter and we will be revising it in a gist way. And income from house property, there is definitely amendment and very important amendment. May 2019, income from house property was asked for 8 marks, separate problem. November 2019 in question number 1, which is for 14 marks, in that only they have asked income from house property. Right? Okay. So great that you all can hear me and the screen is all okay. Thank you so much for responding. So income from house property should not be ignored thinking it as a small head. I'll make a separate video for how we should prepare according to the paper pattern for the whole direct tax and indirect tax for the CA students, and only the, we can say, direct tax for the CMA students, right? So let us start directly with the income from house property. Just let me see if I can share my screen. Yes. 2 minutes. We are going to do it in a very nice way so that later on, if anyone is watching, can you see the screen which I am sharing? Right. So income from house property is actually the second head, wherein the sections covered are from section 22 to 27. Okay. Right. So first is that this can be covered only when you get rental incomes from a property. So now first we should know what is property, and next we should know is what is income from house property, right? Okay. So now property, when I say the head name is income from house property, this doesn't mean only the house property, right? Property includes land, building, commercial properties, residential properties, factories, godowns, everything, and even land appertinent to building. Suppose if next to my building I am having a garage or a open outhouse, and there I have asked someone to open a parlor or some library and I've given it on rent, that will be taxable. But when I get income from a vacant land, it will be taxable under income from other sources. Okay? I hope this is clear to all of you. Now, the SSE must be owner of the property. So there is a knock-knock condition to enter every head. Like if it is income from salary, it is the employer and employee relationship. If you are doing business, that head. So income from house property, if you want to enter in this head, knock, the condition is owner and tenant relationship. So you yourself are a tenant. You are having a hospital, and a part of the hospital you have given to canteen or the medical shop. Then this is called as subletting. You are the tenant. You are getting rent from subtenant. Then this is taxable under income from other sources. Clear? So what is taxable here? Income from house property. Now house property can be divided into three heads, right? That is let out, self-occupied, and deemed let out. So now, what are these three types of the properties? Let us start and discuss. Self-occupied property is the property where you stay. Okay, here is the most important amendment. Self-occupied property is the property where you stay, right? Okay, so it is occupied by yourself. Now, very important is it's not necessary to occupy it physically. For example, if you are having a house in Hyderabad, for your job you are staying in Bangalore, but this house is just vacant. You have not given it out on rent. You are occupying some other place because of your job or children's education or anything. Then also, two properties are allowed as self-occupied from 2019-20. Earlier, it was one self-occupied. That is why I wanted to do the screen sharing, which usually is possible in the live videos, and that's why I'm showing you this screen. It is the property used by the owner for his own residence or which is unoccupied by the owner. So it's not necessary you should physically be there, but then you should not get any rental income. If you are staying in Bangalore and you have given it out on rent, then it will be treated as let out property. Got it? So let out property is very easy, which you have given out on rent, tax it. Self-occupied property, either you are occupying or it is vacant. How many properties are allowed as self-occupied property? Two properties, right? Two properties are allowed as self-occupied property in case of individual and HUF, right? What is deemed let out? See, when a person needs a house to stay, one house is enough, no? Right? Then instead of one house, if it is say two houses, that's fine. So the act is saying more than two self-occupied houses. I have one house here, one house in Lonavala, another in Darjeeling. Then any two houses of my choice, I can take it as self-occupied, right? And remaining will be treated as deemed let out, and this is the only head where notional income is taxable. Notional income is taxable. Clear? Right. Is the screen appearing to be very small? Right. Then let us discuss it orally. If the screen is clear, then I would again start sharing the screen. And if you feel that screen ke saath was I seen properly, can someone respond, please? If not, we'll continue. Okay. So now we have three kind of the properties. The self-occupied property, which two self-occupied properties, any two by your choice, you can treat as self-occupied. You can say, ma'am, what difference does it make? If it is self-occupied, you can show income as nil and interest paid on the housing loan which you have borrowed for that property is still allowed. Then that means that property is, benefit is you can show loss. In self-occupied property, always there is a loss, right? Okay. Next is now, after the self-occupied property, we have let out property, which is completely rental, and then we have deemed let out property. So all the three types of properties are clear. Now let us see how to compute the income. When we compute the income from house property, then the first important thing is format. Okay, right. The format. Okay, video is clear, you are saying, but the screen is small. So if the screen is visible, then better I would show screen because my face is not important. If my voice and screen is clear, all of you can give me a choice. Which one you would prefer, that we would go. See, I told you it's easier to record a video and post, but this is so that I can interact with all of you. Any doubts you have in between, keep posting your doubts. And if things are very clear, then also please keep commenting. Right. So now let us see what is the format of computing the income. When you compute income from house property, the first thing we should know is gross annual value. And for gross annual value, we should know what is the standard rent. Standard rent is the rent decided as per the Rent Control Act. Then we should know what is the municipal rental value in those area. And then we have the fair rent. Fair rent is the arm's length rent, which you can say at least in this area, Banjara Hills, Nalakunta, this much rent you will get. Once you know this, 3, then you have the actual rent. You all got my point? So first, computing the GAV is important, right? So now there are steps like high, low, high, tight. Okay, high, waves of ocean, low and high. Now, let us see what it is. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. That or standard rent, whichever is lower. That or actual rent. I hope you are getting once again. Fair rent, municipal value, whichever is higher. That or standard rent, step 1 answer, or standard rent, whichever is lower. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. Right? Okay. So in the 3 steps, whichever is higher last, that will be your gross annual value. You may have a doubt, ma'am, in exam if standard rent or fair rent or anything is missing, then take GAV according to whatever values are given. Once you get the GAV, then deduct municipal taxes. Now listen, municipal taxes are to be deducted only if they are actually paid by the owner. First thing is paid by owner. Second thing is actually paid. Agreed owner will pay, but 1920 owner will pay in April 21. Not allowed this year. Then ma'am, allowed next year? Yes. Municipal taxes are allowed on payment basis. After the GAV, municipal tax, you get net annual value, right? Net annual value may, first thing you can deduct is 30% standard deduction. Now, what is this? When I'm getting rental income, I am incurring expenses. Owner is paying repairs, municipal taxes, ground rent, watchmen, liftmen, maintenance. Then government is saying, if you earn 100, we assume 30 is your expenditure and 70 you are earning. So 30% stay straight standard deduction is allowed from your NAV, right? NAV may say standard deduction is allowed. Got it? Right? And then after the NAV and standard deduction, in exam to confuse you, they'll give you ground rent, repairs, all. No. Municipal taxes is allowed. You got NAV. After NAV, only 2 deductions are allowed. One is standard deduction and another is interest on loan. And then you get income from house property. I have seen, I know when I'm doing this revision, I don't want to teach scratch for hours and for days. We can teach income from house property. I'm concentrating on my paper correction experience for my mock test, which I take for my students, wherein what common mistakes they do. And I'm concentrating on the concept, gist, what I'm giving. If you feel my speed is more or low or whatever, and if you feel, ma'am, everything all clear, then put a message, please type right now. Right now, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it in recording, it encourages us also to give more and more support to you all students for the upcoming exam. So please comment there that all clear, or should we go little slow or more? How? Okay. Right. So where we were, we have seen all the format, how to compute the income. Now, municipal taxes, I said they are allowed on payment by the owner. If the owner and the tenant is paying 50-50, then only 50% is allowed, right? Now, let me come to interest on loan. This is the point where students usually do mistake. Rest all the problem is correct. And this is a very scoring chapter and time saver. Thank you so much for the continuous response, Sai Charan, Manisha, Karan, all of you. And wherever you feel, ma'am, can you please share the screen? Let me know. I'll do that. Coming up with more technology. Next time I will have a tab and pen so that I can write and share my screen. But till I update my technology, I don't want you all to lose on the track for the upcoming exam, right? So let us continue this. Once we get interest on loan, yeah, let me talk in detail about interest on loan. And what I am discussing is very, very important for the 30 marks MCQs also. I hope all of you know 30-70 is the ratio for income tax GST, and for CMA students, the superb. MCQs, fill in the blanks, true and false, house property, so many questions are asked. So pay attention to interest on loan. It's a challenge. It will come in the MCQ for sure. Interest on loan is allowed on due basis, subject to the condition that you have taken loan for the house property from a housing finance company or a bank who will give certificate. Then whatever principal you pay, that is deductible in ATC. And what interest you pay, that is deductible here. Now, if you're not having, just rush 2 minutes keeping your headphones and your screen on, just take a notepad and note it down. Interest on loan is allowed on due basis. It's allowed. Even if you don't pay for 19 and 20, it is allowed on due basis. Clear? So interest on loan is allowed on due basis, and municipal tax is allowed on payment basis. But then how much? Then write it down, note it down. In case of let out property and deemed let out property, DLP and LOP, interest on loan for the year, whatever it is allowed. Jo bhi hai, everything is allowed. There's no upper limit. Students, oh ma'am, I remembered something 2 lakhs. Half knowledge is harmful. 2 lakhs is the upper limit of interest for self-occupied property. Okay? And 2 lakhs also has some conditions. Let me quickly start. Loan must be taken after 1499. Loan must be taken for construction of the house property. Construction should be completed within 5 years. If these 3 conditions are satisfied, interest on loan is allowed in case of self-occupied property up to 2 lakhs. Up to 2 lakhs. Right? Today, in 2020, if I have taken interest on loan on my existing house for, say, repairs, renovation, then how much interest is allowed? 30,000. Maximum up to 30,000. If interest pays 22, you deduct 22. If it is 35, you deduct 30. So in case of self-occupied, 2 lakh interest is allowed only for the purchase or construction. For repairs and renovations, how much interest is allowed? 30,000. Some excess 50,000 interest is allowed, but that is 80EE. You can correlate when you do deductions and this. Is everything clear for interest on loan? Keep responding. कुछ bulb on हुआ है या नहीं house property के लिए? If you get a 8 marks question, super scoring it's going to be. And I am expecting a combination question. Because now if you get 3 houses, you should see the problem which is solved in your study material. You know what it is? If it is 3 houses, earlier it was, I have 3 houses all self-occupied. So anyone is self-occupied, remaining 2 were deemed let out. Now what? 2 houses I can take self-occupied. Right? So now for all the 3 houses, make columns and take all of them as let out and compute the income. In the second table, take all of them as self-occupied. In case of self-occupied, GAV is nil. Municipal taxes are not allowed because you're staying in your house. Municipal taxes is your personal expense. NAV is nil. Standard deduction, obviously maths on NAV 30%, nil. Only interest on loan is allowed. Write down punchline, self-occupied property will always show loss. Then, Tino property self-occupied, what is the loss? all the three properties let out what is the income, and then work out the combination. What will be your option 1? House property 1 and 2, self-occupied. 3, let out. Option 2, second and third, self-occupied. First, let out. Option 3, like this, whichever combination gives less, you do it. Right? Okay. So I hope this is clear. Now, interest on loan is allowed, but to pay interest to the bank, if I have taken loan from my friend to pay interest, interest on interest is not allowed. See, interest is allowed because the purpose is you have taken it for house property. But interest, what you have taken from your friend, is not for your house property. It is to pay interest. So digest and take this punchline. Interest is allowed. Interest on interest is not allowed. Right? And now let us see the combination problems. Once again, I want to go to the GAV. If property is let out for some time, okay, and self-occupied for some time, then you have to take the whole GAV with all the routine steps. You got it? Let out, self-occupied, or self-occupied let out. You don't get any benefit. But then if it is let out throughout the year, okay, but then if it is vacant for some time, then can you deduct the rent? Can you take in GAV actual rent as 8 months? Suppose if 4 months the property is vacant, can you take in GAV 8 months rent as the actual rent? Now listen, go back to the steps. Fair rent, municipal value, whichever is higher. That or standard rent, whichever is lower. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. So step 2 is for 12 months, no? Municipal value, fair rent. And actual rent is only for 8 months. So now, if actual rent is low only due to vacancy, then you can take in step 3 actual rent as GAV, even if it okay, रुकावट के लिए खेद है. This is a live session, so sometimes it happens. All clear until now? Can you see me? Can someone put the message? Are you able to rejoin? Okay, right. So please remember that if actual rent is low only due to vacancy, then also take actual rent as GAV. Followed, even though it is low. Right or not? All clear? Okay. Now we have completed fair rent, municipal value. One thing, googly, one more point. If they give the municipal value fair rent for the property as a whole, and the property as a whole they have given, and the rented part is part. Do you remember part problem? 25% is self-occupied, 25% is let out, and 50% is deemed let out. Okay, whatever it may be. So in that case, if they give the municipal value of the whole house, then you have to take the municipal value according to either square feet or the percentage which will be clearly given in the exam. Followed, 25% is self-occupied, 25% is used for business, 50 and remaining 50 is let out. So full property's value you have to take. Okay. Right? So this is all about the bifurcated problem. Okay, one more silly mistake I am reminded. Students, they compute income from house property. H1, H2, H3. Loss hai to they write in brackets profit and they finish. -1 mark. Finally, when you have house property 1 may loss, house property 2 and all income, in that case, you have to write the net final income from house property, right? Any doubt or anything, if you want to revise, keep commenting in the chat box. And if all clear, let me know so that I can go to the next part, that is discussing. Sometimes they're asking short notes, sometimes 5 marks problem on arrears of rent and unrealized rent. Unrealized rent is like bad debt. It is due, but it is not received. So if all the conditions, tenancies, bona fide and all is satisfied, then unrealized rent I can deduct from the GAV. Because I have not received, why do I pay rent? But I have to prove that I have sent legal notice, I have taken all the actions, and nothing I could do to recover my rent. Clear? Right? Then arrears of rent is past years increase in the rent with retrospective effect, which you have received now. Okay. So now how to treat an exam? Suppose you have house 1, house 2. Then arrears of rent, unrealized rent. Whenever you receive, it is taxable separately. Don't merge it in H1, H2, GAV, NAV kahin pe. No. H1 final income, H2 final income. Unrealized rent received and arrears of rent received, less standard deduction is allowed, 30%. Only standard deduction. And then tax it and add it in the other income. I'll tell you, the beautiful part of this provision is, I have received arrears of rent in 1920 when actually I have sold the house to you in 17. Aap kuch purana arrears, I met someone and they said, ma'am, that time I didn't have time, money to pay you, but karmic account will go, please, take the rent now. I'll take. But I'm not the owner of the property. I've already sold the property in 2000. Even if we are not owner, unrealized rent, arrears of rent, whenever received, will be taxable under income from house property. And that too, with how much deduction? 30% standard deduction. I repeat, don't add it in the other incomes, gross mein kahin pe. Separately tax karo. Right? Then we have properties which are held as stock in trade. What is stock in trade? Your way of business is real estate. You are buying and selling house. But because of this pandemic, you said, Abhi to I won't be able to sell the house. Let me give it out on rent. Then rental income will be taxable here. Followed? But then whenever in case of real estate and all the business, if the property is ready and it is not sold, can you say, ma'am, ye to deemed let out hoga? Property is ready and it is not sold. So it is all deemed let out. I have 3 to 4 sites wherein my properties are ready and they are not sold. So from the time you get certificate that the property is ready, 2 years you can keep it vacant without taxing. The 3rd year, it will be taxable as deemed let out property, right? Next concept I want to discuss is composite rent. Composite rent. That means you are getting income from house property. Nowadays, it is too much in, no? You get income from house property and with that you get rent of the ACs and other amenities, furniture and electronics and all. Then house property rent, tax it under house property. Other rents, tax it under other source. Now, suppose you have 5-6 properties and all your main income is rental income. You should tax everything in business income. I repeat, in composite rent, if you are not able to separate the rental income and the other income, then tax everything under income from other sources or business income. See, there are people who are having 8, 10, 18 properties and they just have rental income. In fact, they keep some person to collect the rent and all. Then they can very well show the rental income as income from house property. Is it clear? Write down bulb on, ma'am. कुछ अच्छा clarity समझ में आया है नहीं? Income from house property का. Any doubt you have in your mind until now, then do share. Arrears of rent, unrealized rent, I think majorly we have covered all. Composite rent. Yeah, there are some properties wherein the income is not taxable as rental income. Okay, then in that case, they can ask you, give any list of the 5 to 6 properties which are not taxable as income from house property. Then they may be income from like rental income of the ex-ruler, rental income of the agricultural income, local authority, scientific research, charitable purpose. Income from house property of political party is exempt. So what are the incomes which you receive under rental income and they are exempt? That also you know. Please remember the sections. Unrealized rent, when you don't receive, deducted from the GAV. When you receive, that time you tax it separately. Municipal tax on accrual basis and interest on loan on due basis. Anyone is having any confusion when 2 lakhs and when 30,000 are all clear? And please practice the problem from your material in the CMA, and even the CA material they have given column forms, and I have made separate videos also for the amendment of the house property, that now 2 self-occupied properties will be treated as SOP and the third one as let out. Any one you can go for the combination, and you can change it also next year. Yeah, one more thing. If you receive income from house property from a foreign country, then in that case, if you receive income from house property from foreign country, then they will give you the dollars and all the rate, convert it, and then you can tax it. How do you tax it? The rent received, the conversion rate, municipal taxes conversion rate, NAV conversion rate, like that they will give. And if 2-3 properties are there, do it in column form. One property divided into parts, then don't take GAV overall. Take GAV also 1/3, 1/4. They can divide it in square feet or they can divide in half. Yeah, one more thing I'm reminded, I'm seeing around me the whole house property material. Of course, I'm having some material here also, but reminding what all questions they can ask you. Co-ownership. A and B are co-owning a property. Then let us compute income from house property all together. And after computing the income from house property, GAV, municipal tax, NAV, standard deduction, interest on loan, final income, 60% I am owning, it will be taxable in my return. 40% you are owning, it will be taxable in your return. Right? Okay. I think I have given all the part for income from house property. And in the beginning, if it was not clear, can we take 5 minutes more to discuss the paper pattern? Till then, any silliest of query also of house property, put it in the chat box. And if you have missed the live video and you are watching it later, watch it, take a notepad, write down that is this revision workable for you. I am also learning technology, dear students, at this age मतलब ठीक ही है, but फिर भी थोड़ा tough है मेरे लिए. पढ़ना पढ़ाना it's easy, but then but still I am trying my best to come up so that I can solve all your queries and make up more videos, maybe using the pen on the screen and screen sharing and all. I'm learning one by one. So I'm discussing paper pattern for the coming 5 minutes. Very, very important for income tax. Till then, do leave me a message, ma'am, everything is clear, or can you revise this part, or any query you have. Don't ignore income from house property thinking it's a small hit, and keep watching this space for more live videos for income from salary, capital gain, especially section 44A, AB, my guessing. So I've made some tables. That's why I'm trying screen sharing. If that is clear, my face is not important. Important is you take up those tables, pause the video, note down, take lot of notes, be motivated till your exam. Chalo, paper pattern discuss karte hain. First, I'll do it for the CA students. Income tax paper is divided into the ratio of 60 and 40. 60 marks for the income tax, 40 marks for your GST. Right? Okay. Now in this, 60-40 ratio, basically, 60-40 ratio में भी कैसे है that you have MCQs. MCQs are for 30 marks and remaining whole paper is 70 marks. So in once again, in the 60-40, the sections are divided. MCQs will be on OMR sheet. Maybe 1 mark, 2 mark, that question paper also they will take back. But blessed we all are, there is no negative marking. Am I very clear? Any doubt, ask me. MCQs are for 30 marks, 1 mark, 2 mark, whatever it may be. It is on the OMR sheet. That's 30 marks over. Coming to 70 marks. In these 70 marks, you have 40 marks, okay, for your income tax, right? So in that you have question number 1, 14 marks. Nowadays they are asking this question, compute the income for Mr. A and B for the whole, all the heads, okay? So now Mr. A B to theek hai, Mr. Beans is asking you, please compute my income from all the heads. And here, listen, in question number 1, compulsory weightage 5 marks is for your deduction. Ma'am, can I leave deductions in choice? No, you can't leave deductions in choice. Because 80C to 80U deductions are coming in question number 1 only. In fact, the November 19 exam, house property was also 5 marks. Step marks are there in the question number 1 only, which is for 14 marks. Question number 1 is compulsory to attempt, but not compulsory to attempt first. So you have a choice. Whatever answer you know best, you attempt that. First impression is the best impression. It do works. Let the value see your knowledge in the first few pages of your answer sheet. But bits you solve together. And 1 point, please make sure you pass it on to all your friends. Students are doing a great loss because they don't know this. Don't solve extra questions which are given in choice. Ma'am, time tha main karke aaya, ab jo acha hoga wo dekhenge. No, please. If you have to answer 3 questions and you have answered fourth one will not be corrected only. And suppose fourth one only you have got more and second you have got less. So don't spare time in solving extra questions in choice. Do what is required. Is it clear to all of you? Is the paper pattern understanding is clear? 30, 70, 30 is MCQ. Acha, 30 MCQ mein fir 18, 12, whatever that ratio will be there for the direct tax and indirect tax. And in 70, you have section A, direct tax, section B, indirect tax. In section A, direct tax, question number 1, 14 marks is compulsory. Usually compute the income. Okay, one more tip here. Worst case, your income or set off or clubbing or other, so something goes wrong in the total income, you are asked to calculate tax. Please don't calculate tax in calculator. आप अपना calculator तो दोगे नहीं final exam में. So you please calculate the steps, write the steps. 2,50,000 to 5 lakh, first nil and then 5% and whatever slab rates are there, do write that so that it is very clear to all of you. That at least if your income is wrong, your tax is wrong, but your steps are correct, you may get marks on the steps. I hope you are getting it. So question number 1, 14 marks is over. Question number 2, 3 and 4, you have a choice. In 2, 3 and 4, any 2 for 14 marks. Now here you have bits. 6 plus 4 plus 4, 14. Or 7 plus 7, 14. Now I'm telling you what usually comes. This is just a trend. Paper pattern is not fixed. Ekdam cut to cut for professional exam. Capital gain separate problem is asked for 6 marks. Definitely with section 54 exemptions or slum sale, and the capital gain topping is advance money forfeited. That I will take in my next live lecture when I come to capital gain. That time again I'll not discuss the paper pattern. So pay attention. If you are writing, write it down. Question number 1 is compulsory to be attempted. 2, 3, 4, any 2 you have to do for 14. Internal, like 6 marks. And I'm telling you, surprisingly, I'm telling you, last few exams, TDS, TCS is such a small chapter, but the weightage is 6 and plus 2 marks MCQ may be 8. So it's a good weightage. In 60 marks, if they're asking 8, 10 marks TDS, 1 problem for 5 marks, 6 marks for the set off clubbing, 1 for the capital gain. So like this, small problems are asked. Income tax paper is more practical oriented. GST paper is, of course, problems are there, but it is theory oriented. Then in question number 5 is compulsory again. 1 is compulsory, 2, 3, 4, any 2. 5 is compulsory for 10 marks for GST. And there again, 6, 7, 8 out of 3 questions, any 2 you attempt for 2 marks. So 30 marks there, and here around 42 marks, that makes it all, and then 70 marks and remaining 30 marks for the MCQs. Is this helpful to you, discussing this paper pattern? Yes, right? So what do you want? Shall we continue with these lectures in the coming weeks? Salary, I'm keeping my running classes on hold because November students, when the exams have been postponed 2 times, 3 times, arre padho, aise nahi hai. If I am doing some revision, it's to support you all, to motivate you all. Now, after this class, this live class, within 24 hours, if you revise the chapter, it will be clear to you. And we all are in touch with each other through Facebook, through WhatsApp, through YouTube. If you see in YouTube videos, description, always my Telegram link is also given. Join that. I'm putting all the updates and amendments over there. So do recommend. It's, the revision is not my domination. It is for you also. What do you recommend? Next, which head we should take up? Income from salary, or capital gains, or house property, and house property is the over, or business head, or how? Do let me know in the comment box. Thank you so much, all of you who have joined the live, and do share this video with your friends if you feel that you have got some very important tips for the house property, for the paper pattern, for the upcoming exam. Yes, income from capital gain, is it? Fine. I have all the mind maps. If you say now I can start, 20 years of teaching, matlab, once we start, I don't realize if it is a live class or face-to-face or what. My teaching is same. I feel that it is God's grace. So I definitely want to help all of you. And one thing, if you feel income from capital gain, chalo, next we will take capital gain. What is age of capital asset and what are the provisions? If you read and come before the live, you will take more benefit of life. और जैसे मूवी देखते हो ना, and in your subconscious mind, the scenes, the songs, the dialogues are going on for the next 24 hours. होता है ना, next day तक वैसे ही दीप्ति मैम की आवाज आएगी सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में कहीं पे. हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, इंटरेस्ट, जीएवी, एनएवी, and all the other details. If actual rent is low only due to GAV, only due to vacancy, still take it GAV. Okay, and work out all the steps properly. There are sometimes in exam questions wherein fair and municipal value is not given. Don't worry to write blank formats. Mat banao. You can directly start with the gross annual value. Okay, and without fail, see the problem of the RTP and the recent study material for that combination wala problem which I'm saying. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good evening and good night to all of you. Bye bye. See you all live in my next session. Thank you so much. Bye all of you. Yes, business head bhi karenge. Still the chats are going on, and do share it with your friends. Please let them all get the benefit of this. Thank you, dear, for joining live. Thank you.